This is BBC Radio Cambridgeshire.
So this is BBC Radio Cambridgeshire. You're listening to Sunday Breakfast, and I am Mark Liversidge, presenting for the very first time. And now I'm delighted to have my very first live studio guest on Sunday Breakfast. The New Crescent Society is an organisation that works on and encourages Muslims to follow the lunar Islamic calendar for Islamic dates such as Eid or the beginning of a month such as Ramadan. The Islamic calendar is different to the normal Gregorian calendar as it works according to the sighting of the moon. The month begins and ends when the moon is sighted in the sky. But that can be a challenge in a country like the UK. So to tell us more about this, I'm joined in the studio now by Ahmed from the New Crescent Society. Good morning.
Good morning, how are you?
I'm good. I think but our first collective time in this. Let's... first of all, can you tell us why the moon sighting is so important?
I think you've said it really accurately. The Islamic calendar is not a lunar calendar, it's a lunar visibility calendar. So the month begins with the sighting of the moon. You have to see it physically. And for me, one of the exciting parts of that is that this is an observational calendar. So it's not mechanical time. Time isn't being done to you. Rather, it's a calendar specifically designated for sacred time. So you have to see the moon, you have to interact with nature, you have to interact with the creation of God to enter into sacred time and then to enter into the new month.
So that could potentially be quite an exciting time when you're actually, if you're involved in that moon sighting and the moment when the moon is sighted.
Absolutely, it's incredible. The first time I really saw this was I was on holiday in South Africa about 3 years ago. And especially for the months of Ramadan, which we're in today, for the beginning and the end of the month, they go out as a community. And I saw 4,000 to 5,000 people go out onto the beach. They saw the sunset and, there were children playing. They were breaking their fast together and they collectively saw the moon and they declared the month had come to an end. And I thought, wow, why can't we have this here? So that was the kind of inspiration behind our organisation, the New Crescent Society.
And is it just about moon sighting, or are there other things that you're looking at as well from I can make sure I said the right, an astronomical point of view?
Yes, we actually we've partnered with the Royal Observatory in Greenwich, and we run a show called the Islamic Astronomy program, and that looks at the history of astronomy and the contribution of Muslim astronomers. So, in the medieval period, Mark, you had astronomers, in the 11th century, 10th century, who are working out to the precise second when an eclipse might happen or the circumference of the earth. So a lot of Muslims aren't aware of this rich heritage. So part of our job is to reconnect them to that heritage, but also to say to them, it's not just in the past, it's here today. Today, everyone's looking at their phone, they're on Instagram, Snapchat, maybe they're reading BBC Cambridgeshire news on their phone, but we're saying, take a look up into the sky, it's free, and marvel at the sun and the moon and the stars.
And something maybe we take for granted and is easy to overlook.
Absolutely, and of course in Cambridgeshire, especially when you go out maybe into the fens, you have some of the darker skies and some of the best sighting locations for all astronomy, but especially moon sighting.
And is it something that is really something that doesn't need expensive equipment? I always think of astronomy as being something that is giant observatories with people and telescopes, but actually it's something that anyone can get involved in.
Anyone can get involved with this. This is, the way we look at it, we're taking back astronomy from the few and giving it to the many. This is for everybody, to steal a phrase from Lord Byron, and, quite current nowadays. Anybody can go out and sight the moon, and it's very, very easy to do. Might it be a good time to explain how you can do this if you're interested in doing it?
Yeah, and I think you're trying to see if you can find more people to do this. Is that
That's right. So, we have a problem in the UK. The moon marks the beginning of the month, and it marks the end of the month, of course. And this has been no problem across the Muslim world. But when Muslims came to the UK, they suddenly found themselves in very cloudy lands, and they couldn't see the moon. So what we're saying to people is actually we can conduct an Islamic calendar in the UK with sightings, but we all have to work together. So what we're saying to the good people of Cambridgeshire is we need your help. We need you to help us find sighting locations for the moon, and we need you to go out and sight the moon for yourselves. The next time the moon will be visible will be, the new crescent will be visible. It's visible every day. It will be on Tuesday, June the 4th. And to sight it, it's really easy. Firstly, you have to locate where the sunset is. because the new crescent is always near the sunset. So if you're a romantic person, you'll definitely know where to look. And you should go to a place where it's quite clear. There's nothing obstructing your view, like buildings. And you simply mark where the sun sets and wait for around 40 minutes. And near the sunset, a bit to the left of the sunset, you'll see the new crescent emerge. And when you see it, believe me, it's the most wonderful experience. We've often seen the full moon, we've seen the gibbous moon, but this new crescent is so thin, it's so splendid in the twilight. You'll be happy to see it.
But it then means being somewhere where you can actually see that, and presumably as well, we are a little bit vulnerable in this country to the weather as well. Well,
that's the main issue, and that's why we've never actually had an Islamic calendar that's convened in the UK. We've always had to rely on word from abroad. So our project is actually trying to say, can we beat the UK weather? It might feel like it, but it's not cloudy everywhere in the UK all of the time. So we need people in Cambridgeshire, Oxfordshire, Scotland, Wales, everywhere on the day of the sighting. So the next one's on Tuesday, June the 4th, is to go out and we can put our data together. You can send it to us on Twitter or on Facebook, and we can collectively say, actually, we can run this really quite wonderful spiritual observational calendar here in the UK.
And do you have to be a Muslim to take part? Are you looking for as many people as possible to be involved in this?
We want as many people to be involved as possible. You do not have to be a Muslim to take part. When the Prophet Muhammad was kind of inaugurating this calendar, the Muslims were there, but people around him, they weren't Muslims. And he was living amongst the Jewish community who had a lunar calendar as well. And they were interacting together. So it's open for everybody. The more the merrier. We want it to be a festive occasion. Can I just tell you an interesting fact?
Please do.
The word for new crescent in Arabic is hilal. Hilal. And it's related etymologically to a word to scream out or to shout out in joy. But it's got an older Semitic root, and it's related to the word hallelujah, which means, of course, to shout out in joy and praise of God. So this is open to people of all faiths and none, and it's a really splendid, festive experience for anybody who wants to take part.
And that experience you described in South Africa that you encountered, really to see if we can recreate something like that in the UK.
Absolutely. We want to see new crescent parties in Cambridgeshire, but across the UK as well. And we need your help to help us find locations where there's a good view of the horizon, where you can see the sun setting clearly. And at that point, you will be able to see the new crescent emerge on Tuesday, June the 4th.
Right, listeners, the challenge is now over to you. We'd love you to be contacting us this morning. If you can think of good locations in Cambridgeshire which would be ideal sites for a moon sighting like this to take place, you can call and talk to us on 08000 85 95 96. You can text 81333 and start your message with the word CAM. You can find us on Twitter on @BBCCams. You can find me on Twitter @ClassicalMark, but there's probably too many contact details. But if you can think of a location in Cambridgeshire which would work perfectly for the moon sighting such as this, where we could get together as a big community event, please do be in touch this morning.
We need your help.
We do.
Please, yeah.
What are your real hopes? Would you like to see groups like this across the country?
We would like to see groups like this up and down the country, and for Muslims in the UK to be able to have their own calendar. For a long time, we've relied on word from abroad. By setting up sighting locations up and down the country, what we're saying to Muslims and people who aren't Muslim is, this astronomy is for you, this calendar is for you, and you will be the people who get to declare whether the month has begun or not. It's a very interesting calendar because it's based on a subjective experience. Did you see the moon or not? It could be stopped by the weather. But when we all work together, it empowers us, and it allows us to determine our own time. There's a deep question at the heart of it. What is time, and who gets to determine time? And with the Islamic calendar, there's an acknowledgement that time is subjective, and we as a community can determine it if we can overcome the British weather.
There's the big if, but I think the more of us that get together, the more chance we've got. Thank you so much for coming to talk to us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.